Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 6 of Amazon Prime's Invincible, entitled It's Not That Simple. I almost started to say the name of the name of the episode instead of the name of the show, but who gives a shit? Nobody watches the Invincible videos anyway. This episode, and it's probably good when no one's gonna watch it. It's probably good that no one's gonna watch this one. This episode committed an error of such magnitude for me that this episode was probably never going to recover. Now, I gave it a fair chance. It was just one thing, and one thing can't really ruin an episode, theoretically. But then this episode did a few other things I didn't like, and when you couple that with the thing it did that I hated, I think it's probably about time to talk about this show's flaws. I've let its flaws slide because this show is so immensely enjoyable most of the time in many other ways, so the flaws are minor by comparison. But this episode, it almost served to highlight those flaws. So now that they're at the forefront, I'm going to fucking talk about them. So I've given the show something of a pass on how disjointed the first half of the season felt. But this is a long-standing problem with this show. Well, long-standing for a show that's near completing its second season. But it's been a persistent issue with this show. And the absence of Nolan this season, I think, has made it more prominent and made it have a bigger impact. This season needed a strong A-plot that is the main driving force of the season. It's trying to be both serialized and episodic, and that worked in season 1 because the A-plot with Nolan was so fucking strong. But then this season, with Nolan basically not even on the show at this point, it's made that weak episodic stuff way more prominent, and Nolan's absence has been way more impactful and noticeable. Like, this show needs that strong main plot, or it needs Nolan, and this season hasn't had either one. Like, this season also really doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, and we only got 2 episodes left. And that's also wild for how long it was off between seasons and how long it was off in the middle of this season. Like, for example, how long are we going to drag out this Sequid storyline that they're doing? Like, it had its episode in season 1, now it's back again this season, and it's apparently not going away. And it feels to me like, do you have any ideas? No? Well, let's go with some more Sequid storyline. Because at the end of the episode, Shapesmith vomits up a Sequid, and did any of you guys give a fuck? Like, I didn't. I'm just like, I just roll my eyes like, they really think this Sequid storyline is far more interesting than I do. Like, I don't know why they keep going back to this subpar plot line, but like, a new person being infected with Sequids, I don't give a fuck, dog. Like, you've done it already too much, and it's not that interesting to begin with. Then they also brought back that Rick guy from last season who appeared in one episode and who I wouldn't have remembered if he wasn't in the previously on recap before the episode started. And I was like, y'all got any new ideas, or you just gonna keep trotting out shit from last season over and over? It feels lazy to me, man. Where are the Mahler twins? What happened to that plot line? Well, I keep getting more Sequid plot. They bring back Sterling K. Brown's character, Angstrom Levy, in the fucking credit scene, by the way. But at this point, I don't even remember what the fuck was going on with his character anymore. I remember I was interested in it, but I don't remember what it was. And you know what? I refuse to look it up at this point because fuck you for introducing a plot point in episode 1 that I found interesting and then doing fuck all with it until the post-credit scene for episode 6. So like this whole thing of like introducing a plot line then not coming back to it for weeks is a terrible habit that this show has, and they need to fucking drop it. Like they roll out 10 fucking plot lines, pay attention to 2 of them, then bring back the other 8 at random times throughout this season, previous season, next season. And I don't care about them anymore. I don't even remember them. You have to put it in the previously on for me to even know what you're talking about. It's just a terrible strategy for telling this story. Now, before I get into further specifics about what I didn't like about this episode, because yes, I am not done. I haven't even gotten to the thing I hated yet. I want to talk about what I did like, because the fact that I liked it is what made me hate the future decisions so much. So, the beginning of this episode was great. Picked up right where the last one's, that dope cliffhanger, right where it left off. I thought the battle sequence against the Sacred Hive at the beginning was pretty good. It's exciting. I like Shapesmith trying to cover Rudy and an unconscious Eve, and then her coming back. I like Mark and Immortal working together. It was all really good, but more importantly, at least I thought there was a finality to it. When it was over, I thought, good job with that subplot. So imagine my disappointment when they bring it back at the end and present it like a cliffhanger. Like, come on, man. Like, even if you got something planned for it, that's a lazy fucking cliffhanger, man. I'm like, you succeeded at this. Move on. It just feels like this show is running out of ideas at this point, which is wild since it's based on 3,000 comics. But it feels like it's running out of ideas at this point by continuing to go to the Sacred Hive, but the Sacred Hive well, like going back to that well. Then on the other side of the cliffhanger, we have the great ending with Lizard King having a gun to Rex's head. They had already killed Shrinking Ray. They'd already killed Duplicate. So I was already satisfied with the risk that they had taken by doing that. So imagine the literal gasp that escaped my mouth involuntarily when Lizard King pops Rex right in the back of the head. I'm like, yo, I did not see that coming at all. I was really impressed that they did that. Like, I thought it was a really brave decision to kill off a main character like Rex, just like that quickly. So now imagine how that joy turned to ashes in my mouth when this motherfucker gets up and resumes fighting with blood splurting out of his head hole. Now, like, I liked how he punched Lizard King with like the bone shard from his missing hand. I thought that was really cool. But the damage was done. The single worst thing about superhero properties is the lack of consequences and how these motherfuckers never die and stay dead. And of all the times I've seen a superhero die and come back, this might actually be one of the worst. They didn't even explain how this was possible. Like, we could have got a line like, man, if that bullet had been too... You know what they always say whenever they want to, give a throwaway line for somebody being alive that should be dead? Oh, if that knife was 1 inch, 1 inch more to the left, you'd be dead. Or if that bullet was 1 centimeter over, you'd be dead. Like, they could have gave me something like that. They didn't give a fuck, dog. They were just like, we take it back. No, eat shit and deal. Like, oh, that pissed me off to the point where I don't know if it could recover for me. Like, I'm never gonna, like, unless they give me something really good about Rex as an explanation for that, like I just don't know if I can forgive this show for doing something that shitty. Like, no matter how these final 2 episodes are, I'm gonna remember this season as largely being a disappointment and having one of the worst and most shameless death fake outs I've ever seen. And that's the consequence of the 5 minutes of good favor that you earned by killing Rex in the first place. I was blown away for 5 minutes, and now I will forever remember the spineless, cowardly shit decision to bring him back 5 minutes later. Like, I hope that dumb fucking decision was worth it. Like, this show could run 10 more seasons, and I'll never forget the Rex death fake out from season 2 as one of the most hoe-ass death fake outs I've ever seen. So... And then, also, as if they didn't already shit on any goodwill that they earned by killing Rex and instantly bring him back, they bring back Shrinking Ray too! Man, I was furious. Clearly, I still am. I don't like being manipulated in such a cowardly way that shows you don't have the backbone to make a brave decision like that. Then these pieces of shit did it twice, and for me, it's an insult to the viewer to bleed emotion out of the audience by lying to them like that, knowing that you're not actually going to do the thing that you're getting the emotion from. Like, it's unforgivable for me, and to me, it's one of the cheapest, laziest techniques that a writer can employ, and I don't respect it. I fucking hate a lazy-ass death fake-out. Like, it made me stop watching The Walking Dead altogether. Like, I never watched The Walking Dead again after they did it. That's how much I hate that shit. This and the same thing. This even retroactively it's the same thing with The Walking Dead. Is this retroactively lessens the cliffhanger from last week because they took back the Shrinking Ray death. Like, and then like I don't know. It's just what a terrible chicken shit decision this was. I absolutely fucking hate it, man. But let's get away from that and start to wrap up. But check in with a couple of other plot points. So I mentioned in the last video that they're clearly already working toward moving Mark from Amber to Eve. And they kind of simultaneously advanced and slowed that down this week. They upped the awkwardness between Amber and Mark. They increased the rapport between Mark and Eve. But then they had Mark and Amber both receive advice to talk to each other. So I'm like, okay, well, I thought we were moving on. But okay, so we're sending them right back to each other. But truthfully, even that sequence went on a little bit long for me. But you guys know I'm not at all invested in these romantic relationships. So I don't even really see this as an important plot line anyway. However, it's during one of these conversations, the one between Mark and Art, that we make some progress on another plot line, the one regarding Nolan's books. And if I want to be picky, which I do at this point, I might as well, even this was handled clumsily. Like Art's like, yeah, it turns out Nolan was writing sci-fi novels under a nom de plume. He gave me all the books. And immediately I'm like, oh, okay, all those books would be based on real life experience that Nolan has had. And Mark will find a clue or something of value in there. Then it's a painfully long time before Mark comes to this understanding and then shares it with the audience. Nevertheless, I am excited to see where that's going to go, combined with the involvement of Alan. And again, being nitpicky, I know. But do we need that conversation between him and Immortal where they just ultimately iron it out and understand and come to the conclusion that Immortal thought he was somebody else? Like, the show had already established in several ways that Immortal is struggling with the death of Duplicate. That was a really weak bit of evidence to add to the pile. It was like, hey, here's another way we can show how he's struggling. Let's have him mistake Alan for Nolan and then have them clear it up telepathically. Yeah, that really jumps off the page, guys. Like, I don't know. Then also, Al's like, you have to come back to my planet to talk to Optimus Prime about how to take out the Viltrumites. And Mark's like, man, I can't just be leaving Earth every 45 minutes. I got a girlfriend. I got my brother's son. And I'm like, why can't Optimus Prime come to Earth to see Mark? Like, why does Mark have to leave? But they got to drive that wedge between Mark and Amber. I get it, whatever. So yeah, not a great episode for me, folks. I'm not going to recap everything I found wrong with this episode, but if I had to cite my biggest issue, it's the absence of a strong A-plot involving Nolan. And it's made the really sloppy way they tell the rest of the story stand out more for me. And then obviously killing Rex and bringing him back moments later with no explanation was whole shit. Fucked up for that. I will see you guys next week for episode 7. And until then, peace.